Hi everyone, I'm Heath Milligan, Senior Account Manager for Startups at AWS New Zealand. For the past 20 years, until I joined AWS in January 2020, I've been working in startups, in some cases as a founder, and in others as the head of sales and marketing. Since 2014, I've been investing in startups through Flying Kiwi Angels, a seed investment group in Auckland, and Global from Day One, a Series A venture fund. What has always excited me about startups is the ability to dive in, help customers solve problems, and in so doing, achieve high growth results, which then inspires the next crop of entrepreneurs and investors. But startups are, by definition, a temporary organization. Once you've found that scalable, repeatable business model, you've got a real business on your hands. And that's where the bulk of new job creation and long-term wealth gets generated. Today, I want to share with you the inside story of 3 of our local customers who've leveraged AWS to rapidly outgrow being a startup and who are now making impact to their customers around the world, which, as you'll see, include Fortune 500 global enterprises and local dairy farmers, and how you might do the same. So my intention in coming here to Sydney, from Auckland, where I'm based, to speak with you, is to help you achieve breakout results in your businesses this year, using the same architecture patterns that have been proven by other customers locally, particularly with respect to data analytics, machine learning, and by leveraging AWS for software as a service. You'll see these are all focused on accomplishing more with less, faster and better informed decisions, fewer people hours, less manual monitoring intervention so you can focus on growing revenue, and less paper documentation so it's a faster outcome for your customers. First, let's pause for a moment and do a bit of crystal ball gazing to consider the year ahead. The world has changed since the heady days of near zero interest rates in 2021. Central banks, businesses, and households around the world, including here in Australia and New Zealand, are grappling with some questions for which the answers are not yet clear. Inflation. Has that inflation been beaten yet? How long will it persist? Do I buy that item now or do I wait until next year? But due to that inflation, higher interest rates. How long will central banks have to keep them at the presently elevated levels? And for your business, what's the risk-adjusted cost of capital that you're expected to now cover? Will there be a recession? Presuming so, for how long and how deep? And then talent availability. Can we source the people that we need to execute our business models as they're currently defined? Or do we need to streamline and automate our operations? At the same time, more venture capital is set aside for investment into businesses in Australia and New Zealand than at any other time in history. They say it takes pressure to create diamonds, and that enduring great companies are born in times as we find ourselves now. A number of those companies that people around the world will know and admire in years to come are already in this room today. Look, we can't control the macroeconomic context we're in, but we can control how we respond in thoughtfully applying our capital and time to a growth strategy. Coming out the other side of economic recessions, growth companies often find their erstwhile competitors diminished. So, over the next 25 minutes or so, I'm going to share with you about 3 local customers and how they're rapidly scaling by leveraging AWS to serve their customers globally. So, let's get to it. We've probably all heard of the Internet of Things, small sensors attached to machinery, oftentimes in industrial settings. But what could be achieved if we bring that to remote areas? Holter was founded in 2016 in Auckland. It's a company set about bringing the best of technology back to the farm. They're on a mission to make half of the world's habitable landmass more sustainable and productive, because today, half of the world's habitable landmass is used for agriculture. Like many other industries, dairy farmers are facing a shortage of quality labor. They're also facing increasing demands on them to manage pasture and nutrient inputs, to care better for the environment. And at the same time, they have to maintain their milk production volumes and quality, because that's their revenue model. Until now, it's often been viewed as a productivity, sustainability trade-off. But Holter has taken the view that, no, we need to be able to do both, to feed the people of the world and protect the planet. Holter wanted to enable communication between cows and farmers, because the cattle's behavior are a learned communication method, which, if observed and communicated, can garner insights. They've developed a collar, which enables farmers to remotely manage their herds from anywhere using their mobile phones. The solar-powered electronic collar monitors the animal's location and behavior and enables farmers to move them from paddock to paddock or to the milking shed. This allows the farmer to create virtual paddocks for fenceless farming, physically shift the cows without getting out there at 5 a.m. themselves, and move them with these very gentle sound and vibration prompts, as well as monitoring the well-being of each cow. Early detection of when those animals are unwell with infections like mastitis is critical to avoiding production losses. It's not just the right thing to do, it's the right thing to do for the farmer's business to treat those animals early. But in rural areas, wireless connectivity can be a real challenge. Even if the cost was viable, 4G and 5G coverage just isn't available. And if it were, it would be too power hungry anyway for these small devices, as they're lightweight, solar powered with small batteries. So to enable this, Holter have used LoRa, low power radio, in the field and Wi-Fi in the milking sheds with those to securely connect those devices back to the cloud using AWS IoT Core. Holter can now easily push new functionality to their customers by updating their mobile app and pushing over-the-air firmware updates to the collars. Ultimately, Holter gives back farmers control of their assets, their farms, and their lives, not automating them out of their jobs, but enabling them to focus on the higher value activities on the farm. The system reduces labor requirements, increases milk production, makes compliance easier, and improves animal welfare. So, a bit more on how Holter does this using AWS. The IoT devices are out there in the field, literally, and the data is relayed back over these LoRa networks. They deploy the LoRa gateways out in the farm, and it comes back over into AWS IoT Core. The data is streamed in using Kinesis data streams, and then enriched using Kinesis Data Analytics, which is a serverless, fully managed way to transform and analyze streaming data using Apache Flink. Key data for mobile app rendering is stored in Amazon DynamoDB, a fully managed serverless NoSQL database built to run high-performance applications at any scale. All the telemetry data is stored in Amazon S3 for analytics using Amazon Athena, a serverless interactive query service that makes it really easy to query data directly in S3 using standard SQL. The Holter team have easily been able to analyze over 25 million data points in 10 seconds using Athena for their ML-based research, machine learning-based research. Their back-end application is served from ECS Fargate, our scalable serverless container platform, which easily scales out as they add more farms, more animals, and go international. Aside from not having to manage servers, going multi-region is made easier because AWS regions are consistent. Now, to expand this to a reference architecture, more broadly applicable to your business's data types and environment, this end-to-end data journey covers everything from ingesting, storing, and querying data to analyzing data and building machine learning models to derive insights. As you may have heard in the keynote, a comprehensive data strategy needs to have at least these three things: a comprehensive set of tools that accounts for the scale and variety of data and the many purposes you have for it, and the ability to integrate data that's spread across silos so you can get a full picture of what's happening and predict what will happen, and governance of all that data so that your users, your team, can access that when they need it securely. Only AWS is equipped to provide you with the capabilities you need for an end-to-end data strategy now and in the future. With built-in automation and intelligence, all our data services, AWS makes the complexities of managing data and the underlying infrastructure easy, so you can spend less time managing that infrastructure and more time getting value from it. First, for common use cases where ETL is regularly repeated with little value add, we're completely eliminating the need for ETL with direct integrations between our services. For example, a zero ETL integration between Amazon SageMaker, our ML workbench, and Amazon Redshift Data Warehouse, as well as Amazon Aurora, a global scale relational database built for the cloud. Amazon Athena, as we saw in Holter's case, and our serverless, fully managed graph database, Amazon Neptune. Second, when ETL is required for combining datasets from multiple silos and adding value through transformations, we continue to invest in AWS Glue, our serverless, scalable ETL and data integration service. AWS Glue makes it easy to discover, prepare, move, and integrate data from multiple data sources. Third, we continue to expand the number of data sources that AWS connects to. Already, AWS connects to hundreds of data sources, SaaS, on-premise, other clouds, so that users can act on all their data. And for AI and ML, users can build models with point-and-click convenience, pulling data from more than 40 data sources with a single click via SageMaker Data Wrangler. So, you see the pattern there. There's a wide range of fully managed, serverless, highly scalable compute and database platforms on AWS to help you offload work from your team with exactly the right tool for the job, so that, like Holter, you too can focus on your product and your customers. At AWS, we love working with innovative, ambitious organizations like Holter. We're working with them on their ambitious growth, scaling goals, and cost optimization goals for the year ahead, and it's going to be an exciting ride. Right, so we've got all this data streaming in, and now we want to get smarter and more automated on how we're acting on that data. So what is AI? Well, artificial intelligence is a way to describe any system that replaces what would have previously required human intelligence. Most AI use cases are looking for a probabilistic outcome. That is, they're looking to make a decision or prediction with a fairly high degree of certainty, similar to human judgment. Now, almost all AI use cases today are developed using machine learning. Machine learning is, by taking a large amount of data, you can create and validate decision logic, which is known as a model. Look, ML is an integral part of Amazon. We've been applying ML in areas such as personalization and supply chain for more than 20 years. And here at AWS, we're now seeing that AI ML in the enterprise is coming across and addressing some use cases that are creating measurable results in these kind of 4 areas: enhancing customer experience, enabling employees and organizations to make faster and better informed decisions, improving business operations and reducing cost, and creating completely new products and services based on AI and ML. At AWS, we're removing the heavy lifting and innovating on behalf of our customers by building the broadest and deepest stack of machine learning tools for ML users at all levels of expertise, so that you can move faster. The stack can be used by expert practitioners who want to use the model of their choice with granular control, by data scientists who want to use the end-to-end capabilities of Amazon SageMaker, by business analysts who can create models with no ML expertise required using SageMaker Canvas, our no-code visual interface for ML, and by application developers who can, without any ML expertise, integrate ML into their applications using our pre-trained models as managed services, the AI services at the top of that stack. Rokt is a global leader in e-commerce technology, enabling companies to drive incremental revenue from every transaction by presenting messages to customers at the moment when they are most likely to convert. Their machine learning technology has powered billions of transactions annually for more than 2,500 of the world's leading companies over the past few years, including Fanatics, Live Nation, AMC Theaters, PayPal, Hulu, Uber, HelloFresh, and Land's End, to name a few. Founded here in Australia, but with US headquarters in New York City, they operate in 14 countries across North America, Europe, and the Asia-Pacific region. For the second year in a row, Rokt has joined the fastest growing private companies in the US on the Inc. 5000 list in 2022. Then they also have retail integration partners with Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, and others. And if you think about all those consumer brands and all their customers worldwide, that's a serious volume of retail transactions. 2 years ago, it was tens of millions a day that Rokt was serving. Today, it's hundreds of millions a day. They've had to break into the e-commerce business as a newcomer, so they chose AWS for the stable, credible platform that they needed. They're operating at this intersection between consumer psychology and machine learning, bringing messages to those consumers at the end of the touchscreen tap or mouse click at the moment they're most likely to convert is critical for Rokt's success. They've also got an advertising marketplace where they obviously broker that content to make sure it's most highly relevant for you. And they're currently placing the majority of those offers at the end of the checkout flow for your primary transaction. For example, after you've just ordered a pizza from Domino's. But they're keenly targeting the ability to place offers earlier in those checkout flows. Now, obviously, because they don't want to risk interrupting your primary transaction when you're booking a ticket or buying a pizza, they have really stringent performance and latency SLAs for their backend responses. The challenge of millisecond latency requirements while being hyper-targeted is why Rokt relies on AWS. They were thinking about reliability so that things won't break as they scale. Rokt serves their traffic leveraging AWS's global infrastructure for regions around the world. The spine of Rokt's business is a streaming data pipeline using Apache Kafka. The managed service for that on AWS is Amazon MSK, managed streaming for Apache Kafka, or you could use Confluent Cloud. They're a great partner to AWS and our customers. Rokt's TensorFlow ML models run on EC2 instances that are managed and scaled on Amazon EKS, a managed container orchestration platform for Kubernetes. They've been running containers for 4 years now. Why? Well, it enabled them to scale really rapidly for flash sales, sometimes with up to hundreds of millions of users transacting per minute. When Rokt started in 2012, Amazon SageMaker and the other AI ML services weren't at the scale of maturity they now are. So Rokt had to build a lot of that lower level expertise internally. Now, different ML models leverage different EC2 instance types, different new CPU and GPUs. And that's the beauty of our foundational service, EC2, the Elastic Compute Cloud. You can get access to the latest GPUs, custom silicon to deliver the performance you need while optimizing the cost and getting the outcome faster. At runtime, their models are run on separate clusters backed by EC2 on EKS. They also leverage the scalable low latency performance of Amazon DynamoDB to store huge volumes of data that are streamed in from every customer checkout flow interaction. They also leverage the global tables feature of DynamoDB so that the data is available and highly available around the world in near real time so that they can recover quickly in the case of any disruption. Then Rokt have been able to meet their growing analytics needs over time, leveraging Amazon Redshift Data Warehouse, a data lake on S3, and Amazon EMR for big data workloads using Apache Spark, while leveraging all the effort that AWS does for these managed services so that they don't have to do the heavy lifting as they grow and scale. To scale rapidly, they containerize their models to run on EKS, and they also use open source Kubeflow to tune things at a lower level. These have brought down the model training turnaround times from several months in the early days to now a matter of hours for their smaller models and at the most a few weeks for their largest models. That ability to improve the AI ML training pipelines has been essential. They're also using cell-based deployment so that each AWS region's 3 availability zones, which these are all spread over, effectively become 9 micro regions. So they can release and do A/B testing with auto rollback. The other thing is being in control of your costs as you scale. So over the past 18 months, Rokt have been able to halve their cost to serve per transaction working with AWS. Now, 1 year ago, Rokt had 17,000 of these Kubernetes nodes in production. And today, that's over 40,000 nodes. So needless to say, scaling to 40,000 nodes, if you're managing all that infrastructure manually, takes a lot of effort. AWS Managed Services make this kind of scale possible. Look, it may seem obvious, but Rock's VP of Engineering Door had some sage advice. Use infrastructure that works for you and solves your problems. But what did he mean by that? Well, he went on to say, for startups and new players, use serverless to reduce the management your team has to do. Use NoSQL, DynamoDB as the data store. Look at your business model and your business metrics and model your infrastructure against that. If your team has the ability to stand up and manage open source tools, AWS supports you with a wide range of managed compute and database platforms. But if you're earlier in your journey of adopting AI and ML for your business and product, there's a whole range of managed services to help you get value from ML quickly. Look, Rocked are probably tripling again in the year ahead, and we're excited to be on their rocket ship journey with them. So far we've talked about building, right? Now I'd like to talk with you about how AWS customers are going to market together with AWS to support their customers globally. Local Measure was founded in 2014, right here in Sydney, to provide businesses with a platform to generate genuine connections and anticipatory customer service, making the simplest experience for both their employees and customers alike. With remote work becoming the norm over 2020 and 2021 due to the pandemic, these customer call centers needed to be able to support remote work while delivering even higher standards of customer experience because many people had extra stresses in their lives. Integrated with Amazon Connect, AWS's contact center in the cloud, and related services, Local Measure has developed a polished finished product and agent experience. So those call center agents can work remote and deliver delightful customer experiences. Despite the lockdowns and travel restrictions, Local Measure still needed to be able to sell to, contract with, and onboard their enterprise customers globally. AWS Marketplace gave them a direct access to market where their enterprise customers could source and buy their software as a service alongside AWS services on the same bill. The marketplace procurement mechanism took care of a lot of the administrative hassle for them. It sorted out the correct local taxes, the billing and accounts receivable with the local trading entities in the countries where their customers are. According to Jonathan Baruch, their CEO and founder, it takes away all of the pain of transacting the sale. AWS Marketplace provided this familiar and trusted licensing environment with usage telemetry, enabling them to conclude procurement with a new bank customer in Malaysia within 48 hours of that bank's decision to purchase. 48 hours. Ultimately, this pace of customer engagement drove 500% year-on-year revenue growth for Local Measure in 2021 and 300% year-on-year again in 2022, with AWS Marketplace as their primary sales transaction method. For Local Measure's enterprise customers, this simplified procurement, license tracking, and renewals. Customers can also now buy professional services on AWS Marketplace as private offers, so implementations are a lot easier. Both customer and SaaS provider can rely on the AWS SaaS standard set of terms, so the usual legal, procurement, and security hassles are made easier during that vendor onboarding process. Speaking of security, Local Measure are also SOC 2 Type 2 certified, and AWS Marketplace Vendor Insights makes it easier for customers to simply get all that compliance and security information from a unified dashboard. One of Local Measure's customers, operating in 3 countries, 14 brands, media is seen here with brands such as House & Garden Magazine, Mary Claire, and Woman's Weekly, was able to stand out their new Amazon Connect Cloud Contact Center with Local Measure Engage platform in just 9 days, and then seamlessly scale up to support larger volumes of calls and chats. They also found that this Amazon Connect plus Local Measure Engage combo was 40% less expensive to implement than other contact center solutions. And because it's so much more modern and intuitive with ML in the background to suggest the next best action, they could also train their agents 75% quicker. Now, this also resulted in better staff retention, and in the case of staff turnover, a faster time to productivity. And now, with all that data collated from Amazon Connect and Local Measure in a data lake on S3, all sorts of analytics and automation use cases are enabled. So for the enterprise, easy contracting, easy procurement, faster time to value, while still ensuring security and governance compliance. Sourcing, accessing data and cloud software quickly and confidently is mission critical to many of today's businesses. Companies rely on hundreds of third-party solutions to enable their teams to succeed. But speed in procurement and provisioning can be hard to balance with that need for governance of usage, cost, and security. Organizations are seeking to modernize their digital supply chain, which is that procurement, provisioning, and governance of software, data, and services, utilizing tools provided by cloud marketplaces. Cloud marketplaces enable customers to move fast with the software, data, and professional services they need to solve their unique business challenges while improving operational efficiency. AWS Marketplace gives you a wide range of trusted third-party solutions, a number of which are exhibiting out there on the floor, including SaaS, data, and professional services, to help you innovate at speed while modernizing a digital supply chain and operating at scale. As organizations migrate to or build applications on AWS, they can realize the benefits of this easy software procurement and quick, secure, cost-effective integration of these tools into their operating models. So we've covered how Holter built a scalable data pipeline using serverless AWS services, how Rocked scaled their ML model training and inference using AWS Managed Containers, and how Local Measure is going to market with AWS Marketplace globally. And the best part, you all can too. At Amazon, one of our leadership principles is frugality. The subtext below that being accomplish more with less. Constraints breed resourcefulness, self-sufficiency, and invention. I encourage you all to speak with the AWS folks here today and your AWS account manager and solution architects to ensure that your use of AWS services is both cost-optimized and ready to scale to continually deliver great experiences for your customers, improve your margins, and ultimately win in your market sectors. Look at how data is enabling better decisions faster and piping into your product experience. Look at how scalable compute with managed databases can take work off your team. And look at how AWS Marketplace can simplify your life, whether you're on the buy side or the sell side of onboarding a SaaS product. I hope at reInvent this November or Sydney Summit next year, we'll be celebrating your story of having made a step change improvement in your business in 2023 using AWS compute and machine learning to scale and accelerate. Now, finally, it takes people to leverage the power of AWS, you and your teams. We invite you to join the millions of folks learning with AWS training and certification. Visit Skill Builder, our online center, to discover 600 online courses, hands-on labs, and role-based games. And when you're ready, discover AWS industry-recognized AWS certifications to showcase your expertise and grow your potential for impact in your current organization and throughout your career. Thanks, everyone. Please remember to complete that session survey so we can make these sessions the most valuable for you.